Welcome everybody. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. Obviously with May the 17th opening this week, we booked this well before we knew that was going to be the date. So I think it's interesting. We've fully subscribed. I think we've got, less people here. We've probably got, so what are we? Yeah, sort of a third of the people, which is probably not too surprising, knowing everybody's going to be working and head down this week looking at the figures and what's going on. But the recording will be sent out to everybody to hear what's going on. So welcome. I'd like to say as well, firstly, welcome to Paula Frey and Sara McKinven Höök. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for all. There's been a huge amount of work gone into this, by the way, by these two lovely ladies, and I'm very grateful for that. I think the first thing to probably do is if you two would like to introduce yourselves to the audience.
Well, those of you obviously that know me, but so I've worked in hospitality for over the last 20 years. I've worked for some big brands. Revenue management's always been a passion of mine. Numbers, Excel, data. Always been key to me to be able to make the right decisions. I did a webinar with Roland back in February. I stepped in last minute, I want to say, with less than kind of 12 hours notice to do a webinar. And what came out of that webinar was just how much that we still in hospitality just don't have the data, and have the data in one place. Rather than logging into this system, what's my password for that? What's my password for this one to look at my rate job? We don't have that. I say we don't. There are some systems out there, but we don't all have them. And then different people in your organizations have different systems that they prefer. So they want you to use that for this and something else. Whereas the smarter way is to have all your data in one place. So data came up on that call, and I just said to Roland, you know what, I think we need to do another talk. I said, I quite enjoyed it. And I said, let's do one on data. And then I attended another call with Heather Hart, with those of you that might know her in the industry. And on her call, again, very much tackling mice business, but again, data came out of that we just don't have the smart tools out there. And it's a minefield for you on property to find out where the tools are. And I'm going to hand over now to Sara to introduce herself, because otherwise I can talk about myself for ages.
I'm going to do a slightly shorter intro about myself. So I've been in hotel operations a long time ago, and then I got into revenue management, started working for Paula back in 2016. And I bet quite a few of you know her, so you know how passionate she is about data. So if you work for her and with her, it's impossible not to get dragged along. So here we are. This is my passion too now, to get data, the right data, to be able to do your revenue management decisions correctly. So
absolutely. And the one thing I'll say about today is it's going to be pretty interactive. I know that Paula and Sara have got questions, and we'll be asking your opinions and thoughts and answers to things as they go along. So please use the chat window or the Q&A. So chat window particularly, I think, to be answering the questions that they've got for you, and the Q&A, or the chat window, but to ask any questions that you'd like to put to them around this topic. And as I've said, I know that they put in an awful lot of work looking at different systems and with huge amounts of meetings in the last couple of months to really look at different systems, how they compare the different reports and all this stuff. So I'm really looking forward to their deductions and thoughts here. I suppose best to move on really and hand over to you guys, and so off we go.
We did send out a questionnaire to those of you, and thank you to those of you if you're on the call and you responded to that. That was great, and we appreciate that, making the time to do it. It wasn't a long questionnaire. However, we noted that when we wrote the questionnaire, obviously we did this way before we thought how the presentation was even going to look. So we've come up with a few short questions that we're going to put into a poll for you to answer now live on the call, because we realized that maybe some of those questions we might not have worded them quite correctly, but we also found out that there's some more information that we wanted for you. They're very simple questions. We've given you poll answers, so we've made it very simple for you. There is no solution. Then you've got to pick one of the answers, I'm afraid. You can't deviate from that. We're not giving you that option or two other. So I'll hand this over now to you guys to pull the polls up.
Yes, so we have some questions. The first one is that we are asking if you have the right reporting tool that give you the possibility to slice and dice and actually give all the information you would like to have. So please answer yes or no, and we'll get your answers.
This isn't a revenue management tool. This isn't a forecasting tool, a specific reporting tool. So you might get some information out of your report, your RMS, and obviously depending which system you have, we've not given away any names. Some of them give you that reporting tool that give you everything that you want to see, but we're specifically asking now on reporting tools.
The reporting tool.
Yeah. How are the answers coming in, Roland?
Yeah, give it 5 more seconds.
5 more seconds, okay.
4,
Sarah knows I'm a very patient person.
3,
Yes.
2.
Also,
I
if
know,
you don't
I
work
know
with
the
one
answer
now,
to that. I know the answer to that. No, I haven't worked with you. Right. And right, here we go. End polling. Right. And share the results.
All right,
Wow.
look.
Okay.
Right.
Still a lot of you that don't have that tool. So that still shows us that there's 40% out there in the market that still do not have that right tool out there, which is good, which means there's still work to do and more investigation to do to try and find those right tools and be able to recommend those out to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Moving on.
Next question. If you do have a reporting tool, or you wish you had one, do you want to see the data in a dashboard, or do you want it in an Excel as well?
Or both.
Or both, yeah, you can have both. Up to you guys.
God, I'm not very patient. This is awful having to wait for the answers.
Good practice.
We'll put slightly more pressure on them on the timing. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, someone just got in at the end.
Oh.
Right, so results. There we go. Pretty unanimous.
Okay, that was the answer I was hoping for. So well done, everyone. Top marks, passed. Okay, moving on.
Okay.
So we know all revenue managers, directors spend a lot of time. So we wonder, how much time do you feel you're wasting on pulling data from your PMS to build reports, either yourself or maybe sales department or any other department it might be in? How much do you actually spend your time on a weekly basis? So you got 4 different options, please.
So I guess we're really targeting this out to the 39% of you that said you didn't have a reporting tool. But those of you that do have a reporting tool, maybe remember back to your days when you didn't have a reporting tool and how much time you spent, or in a previous job where you didn't have that tool, in a previous job, where it seems that the only department that can create reports is revenue management.
I guess also possibly that, not all reporting tools may give them all the reports they want. So they still have to do this,
Oh, you hit the nail right on the head there, Roland.
There you go. not that I'm leading this anywhere at all,
no,
but anyway.
Top marks.
Right, okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, this is an interesting one.
Oh my God, well, the 19% of you I've got to, and the 4%, oh my God, yeah. I feel for you guys. But yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, that's quite a lot. It's nearly a quarter of people are over half their time wasted. I mean, that's quite mad, isn't it?
Yeah, can we use that time for better things?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And then,
last but not least.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you had access, this is a really hard question for you guys. If you had access to all the reports you require, want, do you believe you could drive more revenue, do better job, basically?
We will not share your results or names with anyone.
No, there's no names.
No names.
We should have said at the beginning, this is anonymous, shouldn't we?
Yes, it's anonymous. I'm quite sure I know how the 50% plus might answer this one.
Yeah. Right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow, there we go. No surprises there. Bless. Yeah. And how sad it is that in 2021 we are not there yet in the industry. But right, so let's move into our presentation then for you. So thank you guys for participating in that. So obviously, we've Sarah and I have used systems in our previous lives. We've also reviewed some of these systems that we maybe not used, and then we've gone back to them and asked them more questions, because we found that these companies have been great and they've given us their time. Obviously, when we're not a buyer of these tools, but obviously some of them we've used. But like Ideas, I've used that for years. I haven't seen their reporting tool. Admittedly, it's new. It's just gone out there. I like the look of it. Has it got all the data we want there yet? No. And will it have all the data we want there? Don't know. I'm pushing for them to push more data in there. Data Vision I used at Mandarin Oriental. I cannot but more sing about this company. It's fantastic. Tableau, we used that at Corinthia. I used that at Corinthia. It was great. However, you've got to have a sequence writer to be able to use that system, to be able to pull the data out of your PMSs and your other tools and put it into there. So, you need to have that skill set. OTA Insight, obviously we reviewed Revenue Insight and Market Insight with great little tools now they've got out there in the market. Still need a bit more work, but they're getting there with there. Duetto, never worked with it, but great system. It was great to see it, and they were great. And we think we did a couple of calls with them because we had more questions when we came away. Me and Sarah were like, no, we've got more, and they gave us a great amount of their time, so they were good. So yeah, there's some great new tools. Pace Revenue is new out there. It's a great little tool out there. It was good. Busy Rooms, I mean, you might more think of it as a CRS, but I mean, this system, I mean, they do have a lot of data in it as well. So these are, we spent a lot of time with these companies and they've been fantastic for giving us their time. There's still more systems to review. So we've got a list of the systems that we're still going to review. And Sarah, if you want to pull that up.
Yeah, I think we're missing, I'm sure it's popping up even more in my head, and we keep bumping into new ones all the time, but this is some of the ones that we have planned meetings with going ahead. And obviously we would like your help as well to tell us if there's any ones you would recommend us to review. So feel free to write something in the chat now.
No pressure, no pressure.
No pressure.
But anything at all would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even this morning, Sarah and I both found another system that we hadn't heard of. I think we both emailed at the same time. I think we've both seen it on LinkedIn, both went, oh. So yeah, I'm sure there are more systems out there for us to look. Great game. Yep, thank you. That's on there, but yeah, they're on the list.
You got someone said Fornova BI.
Okay.
Fornova BI. Yeah, FONOVA.
Okay.
Cool.
But will we see the chat afterwards?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Great. So we can take.
Don't need the notes. No, Hannah. Yeah. So we have a lot of reviews to do, but it's exciting.
Yeah, we've got. I think we've already got 6 calls in next week, and more in the process of getting secured in at the moment. Okay, great. I think we've got some answers there. Yeah. So we just wanted to share the data. Obviously, I think we had about 30 people complete the initial questionnaire, but what surprised me with this, that still, Opera still does lead the market. And that was interesting for me. I mean, we are now starting to look at some more PMSs. We've got some appointments scheduled in next week. I can't find my little list with those scheduled, but I'm sure it's somewhere on my desk. Because some of these now might be getting smarter with reports and giving us data, because, I think those of you that work with Opera know, you pull it out, you've got to put it into another format, maybe slice and dice, and it's all past data. Once you've done that, it's not proactive, it's not interactive, it's static data. So, I know that they previously had a system called OBI, and I don't know whether anyone's used that. I used that at the beginning of my career at Corinthia, and I have to say, interesting. Vision, I mean, is it still a great tool out there? I don't know how many of you have Vision at all still. But I mean, it does what it says, and it's helpful and easy. So got that there. Thank you. Surprise HotSoft is not out there. Very popular in Ireland. Thank you for that, Kieran. We will have a little review of that one. But
Muse seems to be a big one as well coming up.
Which one?
Muse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be very, and I'm surprised no one actually mentioned it in the questionnaire. It seems like they're coming quite. And it'll be interesting because I think they have a slightly different approach than some of the older ones on the list.
There we go. Yep. work great for small properties. Thank you for that information. We'll look at both of those. Great. All right. Thank you for that.
Jump to the next.
Yep. Is this me or you, Sarah?
This is you, but
It's me, because I haven't got the numbers anymore, so it's slightly
yeah.
lost. So again, for revenue management systems, we wanted to see who was out there. I guess what did surprise us is that 31% still do not have an RMS. And there are some great new little forecasting tools that come out there that aren't so price driven as some of the others in the market. Obviously, ideas, as I said, I've used that for years and quite expensive. Duetto and that, Easy Rooms, you know, they are great tools out there. I haven't seen one yield yet, but that's one that we're going to look into. Yeah. But still with no RMS. And with regards to that, we had a little question for you on this one as well in our chat. And that what we're curious to find out is why you don't have an RMS. Obviously, we understand the issue why people sometimes don't have reporting tools, another tool, another system, more money. But, you know, we wondered for those of you that didn't have an RMS, whether you could put anything in the chat. If you could answer, you just need to put an answer to the question, maybe. Just pick 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah.
Just to see why maybe your organisation doesn't have one in. I mean, the big players are expensive, but there are.
Yeah, we did have another question on our questionnaire, the survey we sent out. We'll link back to this, where we ask everyone about scaling, how important the total revenue management is for the hotel. And it's interesting to see what people answer to this, but we'll get back to that one.
For budget, yeah.
So we continue. Have everyone seen?
Okay.
So
that's an interesting point there. Not myself, but colleagues that does not have an RMS, as they do not see the ROI versus the system they have built themselves. Interesting. Wow. James, I might reach out to you after this call to see what that is. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think back in the days when we didn't have forecasting tools, obviously because I'm not that old though, with my 20 years experience. However, you know, I think when I first got given a revenue management tool, I mean, like anyone, I was like, I can beat this. It's not going to be accurate. I haven't got a clue. I know I have my finger on the pulse. It doesn't. But I mean, the true value of the systems are great. They're there to support you. You've got to put your all into them, though. Otherwise, they're data in, data out. Same old systems.
I'll jump to the next slide. So rate shopping. We're quite surprised that it's 14 of you don't have it. OTA Insight is massive, isn't it? I only worked with OTA Insight my last 4 or 5 years. And it's interesting then coming into the revenue insight as well, because they have a big database of clients already. So that would be interesting to see. But yeah, you guys with no system, we're wondering how do you actually look at your competitors' pricing? Feel free to comment. We would love to know how do you monitor this? That's a lot of time spending looking at competitive pricing online.
Okay. As I say, guys, these are the answers that we got from the questionnaires that we originally sent out.
And that might have been different people from who were on this today. So the questionnaire went out to a wider audience, and a whole range of people across different industries, you know, related to revenue management. So it's not just people on here that have filled out the questionnaire. So, you know,
there might be someone who has a rate shopping tool now, but didn't have 2 years ago. So feel free to give your old version of it as well. It's just for us to understand a bit how you work when you don't have it.
Interesting. Some interesting answers coming there.
I can't see the.
That's fine. That's fine. Those of you that have commented, I hope you don't mind, but I will respond to these. I hope you're all okay with that, but I will respond to some of these chats to you because yeah, it's interesting to see some of those responses. And obviously the purpose of us doing this call and doing some of the research we've done is to see whether we can be here to help you guys and make some recommendations out to you. So because there really are some great tools out there that aren't so expensive out there in the market, like some of the bigger tools. There really are some great tools out there. And obviously, as I said, the purpose of this was very much to come out there and to help you guys. So moving on, Sarah.
There we go.
Okay. So something like, because I've worked with a total revenue management system, I mean, that other revenue in your PMSs, whether it be Microsoft or whatever system you use, Sparsoft for F&B, I mean, that data is just, it's just huge. Some of the decisions you make from the system without that data, I mean, I'm not sure how you guys do that. And obviously, again, when we looked at some of the other systems that you guys said that you use, I mean, again, but these are all, you know, Delphi is very much, you know, it's your mice business, you know, my check is different, you know, Sparsoft again, concept for golf and leisure, but it's still not all of your data in one system. And it, you know, the amount of you that don't have that, you know, to just see that other revenue, that other spend, just even if it's down for F&B, was a big shocker to us. Just to see those numbers are quite so high. And when we asked the question to those of you that completed the survey with regards to total revenue management, moving on, Sarah. Again, this was an interesting, you know, 54% of you only had total revenue management, said it was important in your organization. I was surprised that was not higher. Though I guess if I look at the numbers, if I take from 8 upwards, it's still quite a high number.
Yeah, but also if we look at, there was 31% not having a revenue management system. So
true, it's true.
So how do you, like, because this is obviously the same people answering this, so they still value it high, but a lot of that percentage doesn't have a system. So contradicts itself a little bit if you don't have some of the most important tools like a revenue management system, and still an organization claims to actually care about it. I'm not saying not care about it, but the importance of it and making it easy for a revenue manager. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
To see.
Yeah. So then we asked you guys some questions with regards to what were your top 5 reports? What did you use? What did you have now? What don't you have? Over to you, Sarah.
Well, I don't think it was surprising that the forecast and Rob, Bob, whatever you would like to call it, came up in the pickup. We will come to our favorites, and we're in the top 2 as well. Yeah, rate shopping. So some of you, that's your top pick, and a lot of you don't even have it. It's also interesting. So the people who seem to have it, it's their top pick reports. Yeah, there's some further down. See, I'm a bit surprised. So the no-show is quite in the bottom bit, but cancellation comes before. Personally, that would maybe not be my choice. I will see more revenue to gain in a no-show, but we'll do different. Please comment if you have a, like, why would you pick a cancellation before a no-show?
It's interesting, Sarah, interestingly, just while we're here and the top 2 are talking about segments, we've got a question that is, can we get your opinion on having detailed data split by segment and sub-segmentation?
What we think about it.
yeah. I don't know if they think of anything specifically, but the question is, so whoever asked that, because it's anonymous, if you want more information, if you want something specific, please feel free to elaborate. But it's can we have your opinion on having detailed data split by segment and sub-segmentation? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're happy to do that. Maybe we take that one offline.
Okay.
I think it's quite a happy to take that one offline and come back to you on that one and reach out to you, and happy to have a call to discuss that. Not a problem.
Yeah, I need to know who that is because it's down as anonymous. So if someone wants to drop me a message after, I'll get Paula in touch.
Yep, definitely well spotted. I didn't see that coming up in the chat. So those are the top 5 that you have, and then we asked the question with regards to which ones what were your top 5 that you would want? And this surprised us. I mean, company and agent production report by day of week or by month with the other spend. I mean, isn't it funny that in well, it's not funny, but isn't it sad in 2021 we something as simple as this we don't have? I mean, when I started back in Edwardian Hotels, when they were still Edwardian, we did company and agent production report in a manual process. I cannot kid you enough. It was a Friday afternoon tour and none of us could leave until it was done. But how now we still don't seem to have this, even with the other spend. I mean, to me, it's so valuable to you guys. I mean, just to see what their other spend is, you know, so a corporate account books you on a Wednesday night and only stays and doesn't spend any other money. We don't need that corporate account. But you got your facts there to send that back to sales. But if they're big spenders on a Wednesday night when they stay, you know, why, you know, then we keep that corporate account. But to make those smart decisions, you need these reports to be able to make those decisions.
Yeah, it links me to the second one, that's promotion and offers. I mean, if you knew what some of the companies or agents, like even if it's a cruise for one of your big leisure hotels, if you knew what some of these people would spend and like to spend, you could actually make package deals and promotions for them. So not having that information is, yeah, it's so much more to gain revenue wise. If you had this information, you could just develop and actually tailor so much more for specific segments and companies and agents, and whether it's corporate or leisure or travel agencies. Yeah, it's crazy that so many wish they had it.
Kieran makes a good point in the chat and says this is why it explains why Opera is the top PMS, as this is their most used report.
Yeah, and it takes better time to pull and get in a usable format, I think. But yeah, that's a great point, Darren. Yeah,
but to get it into a usable format is tricky.
Yeah, and then also like sitting in meetings, like it takes too long. You can't do them ad hoc at the moment. It's hard to have discussions, brainstorm about what to do, because Oprah, yes, has so much information, but it's hard to get it out in a nice, simple format that you can play around with. Slice and dice, that's your favorite word, Paula?
It's my favorite word, slice and dice. But then we did have, Sarah and I had a debate about what would be our top 5 reports. In the end, I possibly may have been a little bit, may have just stamped my feet on this one. So obviously forecast, business on the book by segment, however you want to look at that, slicing and dicing, as I always say. Obviously your key report, how you compare that with your forecast tool, and whether you override that forecast or not, and how you do those comparisons. I mean, it's key once a week to do that. Obviously, I'll look at it ongoingly during the week if obviously your business mix change. Pick up report, again, however you slice and dice. Company and agent report. Sarah wanted rate co-production to be next, but I've worked with room types occupied versus paid by segment. And I mean, I've looked at this by day of week, by a monthly period, looked at over a quarter. And
yeah,
I mean,
I think this comes to what kind of hotel you actually work in. Like the last hotel I worked for as a revenue manager didn't have that many room types, so I wouldn't really need it. But if you worked like a Corinthia London, where we were sitting and having 10 houses and suites, I mean, it's super important. So I guess it comes down to what property as well, but it is valuable. I'm not saying it's not an important.
No, I know you're not.
And if we could have more than 5, we would have more than 5 top reports. But it does come down to definitely to what kind of hotel you have as well. So I guess that's why it wasn't my top.
Stick to your guns, Sarah.
Yeah, no. But this is the thing though, like everyone works in different properties, has different markets and segmentation and everything, and it will be slightly different from everyone. City hotels or resorts, all of that. So it's interesting and it's important, but if there was a system that could, work for all kind of different types of hotels, sizes and everything, that would be great, but that's not the case. So I guess that's what me and Paul are trying to figure out, like what's best for the different hotels that's out there.
And Premal's made a good point that, actually you're right, for different hotels, different types, so maybe resorts for hotels, and there's going to be different reports that end up being more important. So it's almost like you need each type of hotel or each type of hospitality business or industry, and each one might have a slightly different top 5. There'll probably be a core 3, but there might be a couple of others then that become more important.
So the majority of the people who answered these questions was larger chain hotels, actually, which also reflects, so we need to keep that in mind, it reflects a bit of the answers. And majority was also working in revenue management. There was, for example, a GM who answered questions. I won't say any names, but his top fives are completely different to what a revenue person, because he wants to see, you know, out of order and those kind of stuff that maybe is not the most important for revenue if it's not, yeah, but it all depends. So it depends who's answering, the like what title they have and which department and everything. So,
and guys, questions come in.
Yeah.
Where would you, with all the, you know, once you've got the reports and everything else, but where would you draw the line with reports and analysis paralysis?
Look, I mean, if you have the data and you have a smart tool, I mean, your time then, you know, for example, your corporate and agent and production report, once you've started to drill into that and look at the more valuable accounts, and you've shown that with sales, and you start to make smarter business decisions from that data, you know, these reports, whilst they're still important, you know, the value of that other revenue, it doesn't come less important, but you don't feel you need to check it so much because, you know, you feel that you've put the right process in place, you've gone through it with sales, you know, what are the smart decisions, you know, and you've made your business analysis from that. So you don't need to revisit it so often, you know, by day or week or such, you know, just maybe at the end of the month, and you really need to look at that one once you started drilling into it. You know, room types occupied versus by paid segment. I mean, again, and even so much with the company one, because again, I'd want to look at this by room type as well. You know, which accounts are booking your higher room categories versus your lower room categories, or how many of those accounts are being upgraded by your front office team. And whilst I don't want to push them under the bus, I think we've all done it as a revenue manager, push them under the bus when they continuously upgrade people. And I think that's where it comes out really key for your room types occupied versus paid segment. And I think any hotels that are larger hotels that have a group and mice business, you know, when those blocks go into the system, you need to move them from overbooking your first room type and make sure that, you know, you put other categories in there when you do them a run of house rate, because again, that can off skew your room types occupied versus paid when you look at it by segment, because, you know, your groups will always overbook your leading room category. So you need to separate that out a little bit. But for your corporate accounts, how much you upgrading them, you know, and this report also tells you whether your supplements are right between your room types as well, because, you know, maybe they're not right. You haven't got that back to basics right. And maybe, you know, with some of the smarter revenue management systems out there now, you can alter those prices between the room categories, whereas before it was so static. And now there are the tools where you can change the price of your junior suite, or you can change the price of your suite because you want to try and push more, than you can reduce those down. So I think, again, analysis, you know, looking at your overbooking or your cancellation reports, all of those reports are so valuable. But once you have those reports, you know, again, you know, at the start, it's an overload of information. But as you start to understand your business better and you understand the points to focus on, I think that they don't become less valuable, but your time that you spend on them becomes less valuable, less needed. And there'll be other reports than you want to drill into because you've got the luxury of that data there.
It was interesting, this when we asked one of the bigger RMS systems, what we reviewed, we asked about the room type, occupied versus paid. And the answer was that so many hotels track it differently. So the input of the data is actually even in the same team or different hotels. So they struggle to know how to pull the report. And this is also, if I use our RMS system and they told me how we should put it in to get the report, I'm happy to change that procedure, but none of them actually do that. They say, oh, we can't do it because you're doing it differently. And I think that's important, not throwing front of house or anything, but it comes down to how we put in the data as well. And if these big RMS systems can help us simplify like how we should put it in to get these data out, but no one really reach out and say that. They just say they can't do it. I feel a lot of times they say, well, it's not clean data, so we can't really do it.
And I think this has come up in one of the chats about found inconsistent with hotel user fields. And this is where you've got to, you know, there's no point putting in a retorting tool unless you've cleaned up your systems. You know, when I started at one chain, which some of you will know which this is, channels, we had 15 pages of them listed in our PMS, because they wanted the reservation agents to go in and say whether it was a channel was booking.com. And no, it's relevant to that. We can pull that out from other sources. You know, it's an OTA, simple as that. And we cut it down to like 12. You know, but you've got to decide what those processes are and how you're going to track your business. And again, it's work at the beginning, but it's back to basics. Your room types, your room categories, are they smart? All of your decisions. You know, putting a reporting tool is key, but you've got to have those processes cleaned and sorted, and it takes time.
Yeah.
But you won't get the data out you want and from the system.
Yeah, so interesting, Darren's asked the question of how much time do revenue managers spend on checking the quality of the data going into the PMS and putting processes in place to avoid discrepancies. So yeah, and interesting, when you put the slide up earlier about people that didn't have an RMS and why was that, our answers in the chat were all about budget. But interestingly, I also wrote down, it's on top, you said data in, data out. And I then wrote down, well, actually, time is the issue, because, you know, people might put in an RMS, which then doesn't work very well because they've not perhaps put it in as well as possible. And I know there's a comment saying, you know, some of the issues are perhaps some of the people on property are not system competent, therefore maybe they don't get the right data going in, and then people give up on the RMS because it's not working properly. And so then it's a time issue. Are you going to get that right? And, you know, I do wonder over the last year, have many of the hotels really invested that time to get the data right, to get their technology stack right? So they've come out of it now with the openings of having all these reports and all the information absolutely, you know, where it needs to be. And I'd love to know people's thoughts on, you know, have your hotels or companies really spent the time cleaning that data up in the last 12 months?
I mean, it brings it back to, I don't know who said it, but someone in the chat said the return on investment for why they're not, you know, potentially getting it on right. And I know it's cliche, but time is money, isn't it? So in the long run, you will make, if you take the time to do it, we just need to convince like higher management and stuff that this is worth doing. Doesn't everyone keep talking about big data? I think it's a massive topic, but still it seems to not get there, even if it's like the big topic at the moment. Big data, there's data, and still a lot of companies are not prepared to take the time to clean it up and set a procedure into future have, you know, usable data.
I mean, one of the systems we talked to, they only wanted to show nationality statistics, and they went because one of their big partners said, well, that's what they've decided they wanted to look at, so we're only showing that data. I mean, Sarah and I just nearly hit the table where we went, it tells you nothing, the nationality of the guest. Okay, no, that's a lie. It does take a few information, and all information is valuable. But the country of origin where that booking originates from is the most powerful data over the nationality, in my opinion. I will say, my opinion rules. But, you know, in my opinion, that's far more powerful. And then to look at that to see, you know, what rates are they booking, you know, by country of origin, you know, will their length of stay by country of origin, you know, some of those answers, you know, you can make some assumptions, but, you know, without that data, you know, you can't. And that also comes down to, again, making sure front office put in that data, et cetera, but, and that comes down to training. But, you know, you can't just expect a reporting tool to work for you. You've got to have those processes cleaned up in your organization, and it takes time. And then it takes time to follow up and spot check that they're still doing it correctly. And whilst that is frustrating and annoying, you have to do it. You have to do it. I mean, it's just key. I mean, when we got really serious on this, pulling out this data, once we got Tableau on board at Corinthia, we had one country that we picked as a do not use, a small island in the Caribbean that I personally at the time I'd never heard of. We'll pick that. It's amazing how in one hotel that was our top country of origin. At which point, I mean, I needed to be calmed down before I could call that hotel to say, are you kidding me? You know, because again, you know, it's laziness, and, you know, we want to make smart decisions. We want our hotels to be, you know, make more profitability, and that data is key. And everyone on the property has a responsibility to collect that data. It is not just the revenue managers. Every single front of house staff, even back of house, have a responsibility to collect that data and put it into the system in a clean format.
I'm not going to defend if we call it laziness or whatever, but I think the problem is that they might not always know what back of house or headquarters is doing. So it's about knowledge.
Valid point,
There's
Sarah.
few times a revenue manager actually comes down and say, hey guys, I'm going to tell you why you need to help me do this right, because I can then, you know, make everything, but like you need to explain. I think that's it. Also, it's time consuming. Not every revenue person has the time to go down, but if you explain it, or at least have, you know, the front of house manager should know how important it is. They should sit in on revenue meetings and they should be able to explain to the team why it's important. Because I think it's not only laziness, it's that they don't think it matters. No one told them that. So it all comes to making them understand why putting in data correct is important. Because I'm trying to think back when I was in front of house.
You're right, Sarah. You're very right, Sarah.
I don't think anyone told me why I had to put in certain things. And I mean, I'm pretty sure 10 years ago, I just put in a random company if I had to, if it asked me. And I mean, invoicing sometimes was also, yeah, you just want to like get it out because you have someone in front of you pushing you to do it. So
But
I think
again, putting in a reporting tool, it's not just for you as revenue directors, it's for sales, it's for front of house to review, it's, you know, for F&B to review, SPA to review. You know, you put in that total revenue management reporting tool, it becomes a culture within your organization. It's no longer just the revenue manager's responsibility. You all have a responsibility then to see, and you all have a tool to see your data. So, you know, there's no excuses then for your departments to not get it right.
So where do you think the problem lies in terms of, if we've got people on here who, you know, are running hotels and can make those investment decisions, do they need to bring in, do they need a, even if it's on an interim basis, do they need a data analyst, a revenue manager, an IT person? Who's going to clean the data up? You know, what's the skill set that is needed to do it?
I think sometimes you need to pull in a third party.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you need somebody to come in with a fresh pair of eyes. And I think sometimes when you're in it, you can't see it, to make some small recommendations to a fresh opinion to come in to review those processes. I think it's possibly sometimes what you need, because I don't think you're critical enough when you look at it from an outside, when you're within that, and maybe it's someone neutral that comes in and just says, well, what about this? I mean, there's always ways to tweak that, but you know, I think sometimes it does need.
But is it a data? Is it a data organization problem, or is it that the data is it more of a revenue analyst that solves the problem? So there's data problems, and then there's revenue management data challenges. So where's the problem?
It starts from the top though. If you have a senior management that doesn't think data is that important and don't value giving you the resources to clean it up and all of that, I think it comes from the top personally, but it's everyone's responsibility. But if it doesn't come from top, then why would a revenue analyst put all the effort in if it's not noticed that it's valuable information? Then you just keep going in your old tracks, and you know you do what you have to do for the day. But yeah, if it's not invested anything in the revenue, it's hard.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I think some of the general managers, you know, if they saw that, how much time you spend, if you're from that poll, you know, how much time you spend doing those reports manually and how you could be more profitable. I mean, if that doesn't flag a red flag, you know, to wave and say, right, we need to stop this now. We need to make this more productive. You know, there's so much revenue you're leaving on the table. I mean, make yourself so much more successful and profitable within your organization. But again, I think sometimes that takes a third party to plug that, because maybe people don't want to listen sometimes within your organization, but also you're busy. I mean, taking the time out to go and review the system. Sarah and I both aren't working at the moment. So, you know, we've had the time to do this and have a look into them, just purely, mostly for our knowledge in the industry, to widen it whilst we've got this time and keep ourselves relevant. But, you know, on property in your day-to-day, those of you that are doing anything from 50% more of your time completing reports manually, I mean, you don't have the time to go out there and see what else is out there. And there are some really great tools out there. I don't love them all. but there are definitely, you know, but that's my personal opinion, and everyone's entitled to that. But there are some great tools out there that aren't as expensive as the big players that will give you some of the data that you require.
Also, we were doing all these reviews, and I would say they can't fit in a lot on 30-60 minutes that they will give you as a demo. They show you the basic data, like dashboards and stuff. And personally, I'd be like, I want much more information. And it takes really a long time, but I get feeling, because I've actually managed to implement, we did Ideas G3, Duetto, worked with some other ones as well. It's not until you sign that actually show you everything that's in there. So like, just the research of it takes forever to realize what's in there. Well, if we had full-time jobs, I mean, we wouldn't be able to look at all these systems. There's no time.
No, and then to realize we've missed a question, or we've not asked them if it does this, so we go back to them, and you know, we've got the time to do that. And it's been really interesting to see some of those other tools out there. Really interesting.
Yeah, they have some great potentials for sure.
Right, do we want to, I think we're kind of coming to a bit of a wrap up shortly.
Yeah, where are we on the slides? Are we? Yeah,
This
cool.
is our last slide.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think we'd last the hour. I thought we'd make that a bit quicker. So look, we thank you for your time and joining us. I don't know whether we've been helpful or not. I've been seeing James from OTA site plugging in his email in there in the chat. I've clocked that, James. Don't think it didn't go unnoticed. But that's great. You know, the whole point of this was to try and help you guys. You know, we're going to continue to do our research. I have defended my company. Love you, James. Bless. You know, any of you want to reach out to us, you know, profiles on LinkedIn, you know, please feel free to reach out to either us with any questions. We're happy to answer them. Whilst I did say, you know, having a third party, I didn't want to necessarily plug my business. However, I have decided to set up a website. It's still work in progress. Just really for the, you know, I don't necessarily, you know, for me, revenue management, I'm very much maybe different from the others. I mean, my focus is very much on data because it's king in our industry, and without it, it's not right. So, you know, my website's out, so you can contact me through that, or you can contact Sara and I on LinkedIn. But, you know, with regards to some of the questions that come up, I'm happy to, any of you want to, if you go on to Paula Frey Consulting, my number's on there, please feel free. If you want to call me, do that as well. But yeah, my focus is very much on getting the right data tools, because it's amazing from our smaller chains and our smaller hotel properties, how you guys just need, you know, now we're doing this research, we're going to keep the motivation going. And as I said, like next week, we've already got 6 calls, and now the presentation's out of the way and the website is built, we've got more time to focus again on the channels.
Yeah, good. Well, I just want to say thank you very much for the time and effort you've put into this. I think you very kindly jumped in at the last minute last time when I had a speaker. Unfortunately, with some of the changes that happened up in Scotland, they got wrapped into having to do that, and you had 12 hours. And we then this discussion came from that, really, wasn't it? About people, you know, in jobs and within hotels never get the chance to really compare and hear about the different systems and reporting in the industry very well. So we thought this was a good topic, and you know, from a lot of the comments here, you know, obviously it's been received very well. I think also in these webinars, numbers always drop off as the webinar goes on, you know, as people have other things to do. We've actually increased, so the numbers have increased during the webinar, so words actually spread in the market.
We weren't too boring then.
There's a great webinar going on and the numbers have increased. So yeah, look, I just want to say thank you very much. Been great to hear from you, and thanks. And I suppose from our side, you know, actually we're seeing really positive signs actually in the job market with huge amounts more activity and things going on. So I do think the sector is picking up, which is really positive news after a really challenging 12, you know, sort of almost 18 months in many ways. And likewise, I suppose if anyone wants to hear what's going on in the market generally on a wider picture, and that's the reason we do these events, is please follow us on LinkedIn as well, on MRK Associates LinkedIn page, because we put insights, salary guides, newsletters on there about the sector. So we'll also keep doing these events and let you all know as we do.
If there's another topic that one of you feel that would be another great webinar discussion point, please feel free to reach out to Roland, and put that out there. We're happy to do research on another topic and come back to you, or anything in more detail. You know, we're happy to do another one of these. So just feel free to reach out.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
have recorded this, right, Nolan?
Yeah, recording will be sent out to everyone.
For all of you revenue people here that wants your management to know, you should share this and give them, like, show what our conclusion from our questionnaire, because I think this is like, it's revenue people on the school, is probably a mix of it, but we need to reach the other people who doesn't realize maybe what a gap there is. So share it with your management, senior management, and maybe they'll get on board. And that 31% with no RMS decreases. So I think that's a good thing too.
I mean, I'm going to end with a posting that I saw on LinkedIn last night, which said, if you can't access all your data in one spot and create actionable insights from it in real time, you are at a huge competitive disadvantage. And I just thought, what a powerful statement to put out there. And that's something to share within your I mean, it just says it all. I mean, you don't need to even add to that. Even I'm going to stop talking now. You're going to have to cut me off, Roland, otherwise I'll just keep going.
Yeah, fair enough. The other thing I'd say on that actually is, with what so many people have said about not having all the reports, actually, I think the other side of that is, if you get all the reports set up, you'll have a huge competitive advantage.
There we go.
I think it almost works the other way. Get yourself sorted and you'll be ahead of everyone, because no one else is in that spot. So there we go. Finish on that. Definitely. So thank you, everybody. Take care. Best of luck over the next few weeks. I hope you're really busy and have loads of footfall and all rosy.
Definitely.
All rosy.
We need the industry back.
Thank you all. Speak soon. Take care.
Thank you guys for joining.